Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to TJ Speaks. I am your host, TJ, and I have a wonderful show on hand for you today. The title of today's show is do we have black leaders or do we have hustlers? That's the question. That's the $1 million, well, I should say $1 billion question in today's Black America. Talking about specifically the ethnicity of the foundational Black Americans, or better known as ADOS. Do we have Black leaders or hustlers? Okay. So let's get into this. So recently, you know, I was looking, around in New York City at the state of Black America. And I got to say that it's very, very disappointing, very saddening to see an entire neighborhood full of extremely impoverished people that's just almost aimlessly walking around, um, without any type of direction, any type of possibility of uplifting themselves. And it's pretty sad. And so I also was researching some of the old black leaders. Like, you have to think to yourself, where did we go wrong? Where did Black America go wrong? We had Black Wall Street. We had a lot more Black doctors and professional people back in the 1950s. So what happened in 2023? Why all of this came along with Black Americans? And then in my heart of hearts, I kind of knew the answer. I took a look at um, people like Mayor Adams, people like Al Sharpton, um, and people like Herbert Daughtry. All right, black people, black people. We have to start on about paying attention to our leaders and where they come from. The problem with today's Black America is that many of the black leaders are ex-cons, ex-criminals. Um, that's a problem. Our leaders shouldn't be ex-convicts. Why is it the majority of black leaders today are ex-convicts? Why is it George Floyd, a crackhead, is idolized? Unfortunately, he died a horrible death, which is true. But if you would notice, that all the black leaders coming up today are ex-convicts, and that, to me, that's not good enough. And so I wanted to dive a little deeper into this, because this is a real trend in America. This is a real trend in Black America. For example, let's look at this the middle picture that I put up of this fella named Herbert Daughtry. This guy knows everybody, guys. This guy is the who's who in the black clergy arena, the so-called black leaders. He goes back to Ed Koch days. Okay, so-called speaking out against police brutality. And the reason why we begin with Herbert Daughtry is because this guy leads us to an Al Sharpton. And Al Sharpton and Herbert leads us to uh, Mayor Adams. Mayor Adams is a disgrace. Mayor Adams is literally destroying the biggest city, was already been destroyed, but he's making matters worse. The biggest city in the world, New York City, the capital of the world. This man literally is selling out. All three of these gentlemen are participants in selling out Black America to the globalists, to the foreign enterprise. Look what's happening with the migrants. They're selling our community people. Our little small, not even much, already infiltrated communities, we don't even have a black community to ourselves. Okay, not anymore. But these three gentlemen are selling us out for a quick buck, and I can prove it. If you look at Mayor Adams, he became the mayor based on some so-called blackness, right? What's the first thing he did? He get down with the president Biden and the rest of the Democrats and selling the black communities to the globe. We have tens of thousands, or actually tens of millions of people flooding into America. And where are all these new, very poor, don't have a dollar to rub between their thighs or their butt cheeks um people? Where are they going? Whose housing are they taking? Let's look at New York City. New York City. Extreme poverty in New York City. Extreme number of homeless shelters. Matter of fact, our homeless population right now is 100,000 people. Compared to before Mayor Adams became mayor, it was about 68,000. So about an extra, approximately an extra 40,000 more people are now homeless in New York City. And it's shown in the subways. Okay, this promise of some new black New York, I ran across an article referring to Mayor Adams as some new black New York. It's a horror story. Because the truth is, people, you know, and I know, the truth is we are the product. We are the what these people are selling. And like I said, many of our so-called, I wouldn't even, they're not my black leader, but many of these so-called black leaders, if you notice, they're all employed by the Democrat Party, and they're all ex-cons. Let's look at Mr. Herbert Daughtry. He was believed imprisoned in the 1950s for armed robbery and forging government checks. Are you kidding me? Then they go around. See, this is the hustle. Now we're going to get into the hustle. So the ex-cons get out of jail after usually robbing and stealing. So then they get out of jail, and what do they want to do? They want to form a church, a black church. It's all a part of the pattern, you see. Ex-con, go become a priest and have a church for money laundering and cover up whatever other crimes that might be going on, being committed. Okay? And unfortunately, a lot of black people where they hustle the black people, okay, is when they know that you know you really want to have a better community. They tap into that. They get the good people to stand out there and march with them. And as you march with them, they're going to make side deals with the white man. So to slide them a couple of dollars, okay? Make all this ruckus go away. Listen, I got these fools marching with me. Slide me a couple of dollars. Put my children and my family and friends in high city paid positions. And all of a sudden, the advocacy is gone. Okay, everything's finished, everything's over. But as a black American, you have to ask yourself, have we improved in the last 50 years? 60 years in America? Under these so-called black leaders' leadership from 1968, have we improved? And the answer is going to be no. No, we haven't improved. Okay, and I have some statistics I want to share with you. For example, the black home ownership in 1980 was at 44.4%. That was in 1980. Now, fast forward about 43 years later, 43 years later, black home ownership is at 44%. A decrease. There's been a decrease in black home ownership of 0.4% since 1980. That means that Black people, under the leadership of people like Al Sharpton, Mayor Adams, Mr. Herbert Daughtry, under their leadership, we have made a 0%. We have made zero improvements in Black America. Zero. Zero. So all of those decades, 4 decades of marching and protesting and listening to these fools, these ex-convicts, okay, who's only lining their pockets. Mr. Herbert Daughtry got down with Bruce Ratner to do eminent domain against the Black people in downtown Brooklyn. He helped Bruce Ratner. He helped them secure that location for the Barclays Center. He been doing so many side deals. I mean, as far back as the 60s. And that's our fault because we don't vet the so-called Black leaders. And from this day forward in 2023, we no longer want an ex-convict to be leading the movement. Sorry, ex-convicts. You got to step aside. You can be a part of the movement, but you can't lead. We're not going to be led by criminals and shady individuals any longer. Because this is a direct pattern. Ex-convict, Black church, their pockets get lined, and the Black community have zero improvement. Also, I was looking at another statistic. Let me see here. We're talking about the Black wealth in America. Okay. From the period about, let me see, I was researching this last night. It was a period, I think 18, maybe from slavery time, 1868. Black Americans had approximately 1% of America's wealth. 1%. You know what's the percentage that Black Americans have today in America? Guess. It correlates directly to the progress we made under their leadership. 1%. You guessed it. 1% of America's wealth today is the share of Black Americans. And that's including Black people from other nations. Okay, we're not even getting into the ADOS crowd. All right, the ADOS crowd is going to be significantly less. So all of this time, all of this advocacy, and what's happening? We had zero progress. So the question is, do we have Black leaders or do we have hustlers? And you and I know the real Black people, that's hardworking people, that's not an ex-convict people. You know we have made zero progress. And so that's where this conversation is leading to. We have to throw out the trash, throw out the old, and the people that's born in the 70s like myself, in the 80s, we have to stand up. The good, hardworking people that earn things the right way. Okay? We don't do shady behind the deals. We actually can do our job, and we have talent. We don't need to rob and steal and kill someone to get ahead. These are the Black people that we need in the forefront. These are the people that we need to step up. Because as you can see, like Jason Black, shout out to Jason Black, like he said, them old niggas done sold us the hell out. Okay? Look at Al Sharpton. Look at him. Working for NBC, FBI informant. No wonder the Black community never got their reparations. How can we get reparations when we have the ex-convicts selling our communities out for $1? How can we get it? You notice during the reparation movement, you hear Al Sharpton silent. He talk some bull crap, not even much. You don't even hear Al Sharpton. You don't hear Mr. Herbert Daughtry or Mayor Adams advocating for reparations. You know what they're advocating for? Immigrants. immigrants to take the 1% of the wealth that we have. That's all we got. 1% of America's wealth. 99% of the wealth is to everyone else. And we only got 1%, and they're flooding our communities with all of these people to step on us, just like the white immigrants stepped on us in the past. And your leaders are nowhere to be found while we're drowning. We're losing jobs, we're losing homes and opportunity. And what is it worth, American citizenship, if it doesn't benefit you? If you're a citizen of a country that do not protect you, what is your citizenship worth? That's the real question. That's the real question. This net worth, the wealth of Black America, specifically the descendants of slaves, ADOS, foundational Black Americans, is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. We have 70% less wealth than everyone else in this country. Every group, every category of people, we are below them 70%. And our Black leaders has been too busy getting nice TV jobs, getting donations for their Black church, which only enrich their families, getting favors from the mayor, to give a damn about us, to give a damn. So this next election, Black people, it is time to show your force. No longer do you march with these people, just like Black Lives Matter. What's that, Patrisse Cullors? She bought 6 houses off of dead Black children. 6. In an all-white neighborhood. When we gonna wake up and realize these are jokers? Patrisse Cullors, she's a joke. She talk all that crazy woman talk. She gets all these, she had got all the Black Lives Matter movement donations, had everybody riled up. This is exactly a part of the pattern. They get you riled up, they get you out there marching, and at the end of the day, you get 0 results, 0 change, 0 improvement. Because that's what our wealth what has happened to Black America. 0, 0, 0. 0 improvement in wealth, 0 home ownerships, and your businesses, you got about 3% of that, and ADOS got 1% of that. 3% of all the businesses in America is owned by Black people, Black race. And only 1% of that business is the Black American piece of the pie. 1% of the 3%. So things have to change. People have to step up. And I feel good about this time and at this moment, because a lot of the younger Black Americans are really, first of all, we had to establish our own identity as ADOS, something that Al Sharpton and Eric Adams and Herbert Daughtry never established. Talk all this about police, yin yang, but you work with the police to arrest the Black people in the 90s. They sat there quietly. Why was they so quiet? Because they were getting paid. While the Blacks were getting arrested, while our schools were being overcrowded, while our children was getting poor reading and math skills. They all sat quiet. And now today, our community is getting crushed economically by the migrants. They're putting them on top of us. So in the future, we won't even have the 1%. But it ends today, this year. We know that they're hired by the Democrat Party. That's why there's a growing cause and a growing movement. Whatever you do, you're a foundational Black American, you don't vote for the Democrat. You got to leave them to the wolves. Whatever that's in store for them from Trump and the Republicans, you got to leave them to the wolves. Because their presence in your life has not benefited you, not one bit. You made 0% progress, Black America. You have 0% wealth improvement. You have 0% home ownership. and you did zero improvement in education. Everything is a zero. So if you get out there and continue to vote for the people that you paying and they're working for the migrants, that's your fault. That's your fault. So the answer to today's question is that we don't have any black leaders. We only got hustlers. That's what we have. We have no black leaders, just simply hustlers. And that's pretty much everything. You know? Oh, I wanted to talk about Mayor Adams before I end this broadcast. Mayor Adams. Oh, what a hustler he is. I ran across another article in the New York Times about Mayor Adams. Mayor Adams didn't even want to be a cop. Didn't even want to be a cop. He was put in there as a political operative from Mr. Herbert Daughtry to manipulate the police department and the black community for his own personal gain. And as you can see, Mayor Adams brags about being wealthy and rich. Well, how do you think he got rich? You think he got rich from being a hardworking police officer? No. He was a sellout the whole damn time. Like I said, the pattern is to get you good people out there, hardworking people, to get angry and to protest with them. And when you line up behind the Al Sharpton and the Mayor Adams and all the other all the other coons that be acting like they care about and Patrice Colors, Black Lives Matter, you line up behind them. All that do is give them enough political clout to go to the white man and beg for some money for themselves and their families. Because the only one getting high positions in Mayor Adams for administration is all his friends and family. They all making $200,000. Exactly the same exact salary. There must be a cap before the federal government start investigating them. Because every last member of his administration making pretty much the same money. Same $211,078, something like that. Come on. Corruption, corruption, corruption. Al Sharpton, the National Action Network, the one that never give out scholarships. I've been to school my whole life. I have never seen a scholarship offer from the Al Sharpton Foundation. Never seen it. He doesn't complain about the conditions of black children in the schools. He never will. He's an FBI informant. So if you were a real black leader, a real outspoken individual that's trying to fight for reparations, you notice we didn't get reparations because we had these fools in charge. These fools. They didn't care about no reparations. They just wanted a quick buck for themselves. Just give them a church donation so they can drive around in Mercedes Benz and live rich and live for free because all the pastors want to live off the congregation. Okay, you notice they don't push the congregation to get homes. Only you can pay them the 10% of your damn salary. 10%. Where did they get that number from? 10%. 10% tithes. That's a racket. You paying 10% tithes, you can't even pay your rent. You don't even have a home. And the proof is in the pudding. Or look at the corners. It's a hustle. All the ex-cons get out of jail. They open up a church. We got about 3 churches on one block in a black neighborhood, on average. And no one goes inside of that church. Barely. It's a whole racket. Because they need, and then you go to church, then they start telling you about politics. If I'm going to church to see the Lord and to hear the Lord's, words, why the hell am I listening to some Hillary Clinton in my church? Politics don't belong in church. You know why politics are in the church? Because they're selling you out. They're getting money on the side. So if you are a black American and you go to church on Sunday or Saturday and you see some politician show up at your door talking his election, you never ever return to that church again. Not again, because they're selling you. You're the product. You getting out there marching for affordable housing. Mayor Adams is putting the migrants in your affordable housing right now. Right now, the migrants are in the affordable housing buildings. You are on the list for affordable housing. You're wondering why they're never calling your name? Because he put them migrants in your building. He's just not telling you. You heard it here first on TJ Speaks. I see a lot of things because I'm in the streets. I'm watching these people. I'm observing them. And I share what I've observed with you, my fans. So, no vote for Democrats in 2024. We have to make the Democrats and the fake sellout leaders, we have to make them unemployed. Because the moment the Al Sharptons and the May Adams can't deliver your vote, they're gone. And we want to fire them. So we're not voting for the Democrats. So they can be fired. And we're going to start with the new up and coming leaders that's coming out that's really, really good. I don't agree with everybody and I don't agree with everything they say, but shout out to Yvette Carnell. Shout out to Philip Scott. Shout out to Umar Johnson. Shout out to Red Supreme. These are people that's forward thinking. These are good people. I don't know the background of everyone, but they're forward thinking people, and we need to go forward. We need to leave the old ones in the past cooning and continue our advocacy for our reparations, which is desperately needed in the Black community. And the only way we're going to get it is when we get rid of the fake leaders, these hustlers, away from the leadership positions in our community. We no longer want ex-convicts, burglary, robbery people. They're not a good reflection on the Black community. The Black community is made of good people, hardworking people, and we don't want criminals to represent us. No offense to anyone else that has a conviction, but that's just the truth. We don't want that to be our inspiration. We want to get away from the jail cells and the criminality, and we want good, hardworking people to step forward. Like what we had with Martin Luther King and countless other leaders. It's too many to name. So, and it's early and I have to get my coffee, guys. So anyway, it was a pleasure. I hope that you found this broadcast informational. I hope that you find some type of inspiration and to know, never give up. Keep the hope, but also stay woke. Keep your eyes open. And don't let no one make you go broke. Period. Have a great day, guys. Toodles.